Hello, welcome to my first partial project for the subject of biology. My name is Dominguez, and today I'm going to present you about our project having food for everyone. In this project, we mainly look at the types of reproduction, which are sexual and asexual. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's begin by defining our main two concepts, the types of reproduction. Let's begin with asexual reproduction. Well, asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that does not involve the fusion of gametes or change in the number of chromosomes. The offspring that arises by asexual reproduction from either unicellular or multicellular organisms usually inherit the full set of genes of their single parent. On the other hand, sexual reproduction is the production of new organisms by the combination of genetic information of two individuals of different sexes. In most species, the genetic information is carried on chromosomes in the nucleus of reproductive cells called gametes, which then fuse to form a diploid zygote. So, what is our project mainly about? Well, our task was to grow 3 different types of plants using food scraps to teach you about asexual reproduction, and using another 3 using seeds, which would be kind of germination, and that is the sexual reproduction of plants. However, as much as I tried to work, I'm honestly not very good with plants, so no matter how much I attempted, I couldn't really get them to germinate. So most of the pictures I had, it's literally just the plant just there. I mean, it didn't really change. However, it will indeed still explain the whole process behind it. Well, one of the plants that I tried planting in the way of asexual reproduction is ginger, which in itself is a form of rhizome. In order to grow a ginger is firstly, I bought the ginger off a store. Then I soaked the rhizomes in water overnight because they are sometimes treated with like growth retardants, and that isn't what we are precisely looking. Then I proceeded to plant the rhizomes 6 to 8 inches apart, 2 to 4 inches deep, and with the grow buds pointing upward. They could be planted whole or in smaller pieces with a couple of growing buds each. However, as I mentioned, I sadly couldn't get any of them to grow. I don't really know why, but here are some pictures of what it would have looked like. Another plant that I used for asexual reproduction was garlic. Garlic is quite interesting because you break the bulb up and plant each clove, or just one in the ground. What is very interesting though is that each clove will grow into a new bulb of garlic. So basically one bulb can produce a sizable garlic of harvest. So another plant the last plant that I was able to, or that I tried to reproduce asexually was jasmine. There are a variety of jasmine plants that reproduce through stem cutting, which basically means that I grab a piece of jasmine, cut it, put it in water, wait for it to root, and after it roots, I put it into a flower pot, and then it grows a completely new and healthy plant of jasmine. For my seed plants, I went pretty much easy. I went for lemons. You cut them, you see the seeds, you grab them, you put them on a pot, you water them up, and wait for them to root and to grow. Again, mine didn't grow at all, despite so many attempts. I tried the same for pumpkin seeds and as well as bean seeds. I somehow suck at botany, I think it's called, or gardening, I don't know, but I just suck at it. But basically, a seed is the easy way of planting, as you know, it already has the genes in there, you just need to put it up. In terms of results, sadly, despite many attempts, I couldn't even get a single of the plants to germinate and to grow properly, despite me trying with different flower pots, placing them in different locations. No matter what I tried, they just didn't grow. So in terms of results, no, I sadly failed, but at least it was a fun experience. Now let's talk about pollinators for a bit. So first of all, what is a pollinator? Well, a pollinator is an animal that moves pollen from the male anther of a flower to the female stigma of a flower. This helps to bring about fertilization of the ovules in the flower by the male gametes from the pollen grains. One of the main and most important pollinators are mainly bees, since they fly around and they cover themselves in pollen. Since they enjoy it so much, they cover themselves in it, and as they fly through fields of flowers, they pollinate all of the flowers. So what they do is really important for us. Nearly 90% of what flowering plants need pollinators, like bees, to transfer pollen for successful sexual reproduction. In turn, these plants are critical in the function of ecosystems. They provide food, form habitats, and provide a wide range of other resources for many animal species. For example, let's say that one day bees went extinct. This would mean there would be no pollination whatsoever. So a lot of plants would stop growing. The mainly affected would be herbivores, zebras, all those kinds of animals that just live off of just fully herb life diet. What would happen next is those animals would die. They would starve to death, and they wouldn't have enough time to adapt their bodies in order so that they could eat meat, so they would die. What happens next? Predators, the main animals that eat these other animals like lions, tigers, etc., would also die. Because while other predators do have indeed meat, they do not get the amount of meat necessary for the proper nutrition from other predators. They tend to get it from the corpses of herbivore animals. And if they were to get it from other predators, the number of predator-like animals would shrink immediately at an insanely fast rate. What would cause this? There would be no predator animals, and in the end, there wouldn't be pretty much any wildlife. There wouldn't be any. Probably the only species that could make it would be ocean species. But even then, let's take, for example, humanity. We benefit a lot of pollination. And if bees went extinct, we would have to invent a new way of pollination. And if we couldn't do it in time, we would start overfishing, which is already a huge problem in society. So we would pretty much just destroy our ecosystems because of this. So what I'm trying to say is that pollination is basically the key of habitats surviving for so many time. It's the key. It's the reason why so many habitats are able to still exist, and some even new habitats we grow. Pollination and pollinators especially play a huge role in the sustaining of habitats and the ecosystem in general. In conclusion, we can say that, I can say that asexual reproduction, can occur in different processes like potting, fragmentation, vegetative propagation, spore formation, etc. The ones that I mainly tried involved cutting a piece of the plant and then just letting it root and then put it on a flower pot respectively. that is an order of asexual reproduction. In terms of sexual reproduction, well, it's pretty simple. You grab a seed and you let it grow. You know, it's quite easy. Sadly, again, I'm very sorry for not being able to deliver positive results despite so many tries. And pretty much another important thing to talk about is pollination. Again, it's a very important deal. And one thing that I would recommend is whenever we see a bee, you know, we'd normally get scared, but they won't really do anything to us unless they're African bees, because they tend to, you know, be very aggressive towards outsiders. But in terms of common honeybees, you know, we shouldn't be scared of them. We should be thankful to them. They are the reason why, you know, we can say our most beautiful of ecosystems are still